Hello, I'm on my couch again. This usually means I just want to talk about stuff. And what I've been thinking about lately is actually a conversation that I had with my husband not too long ago about how I struggle presenting myself around loved ones, like family members. And like, I don't necessarily think that I have social anxiety in the way that, like, I don't dread going to speak with strangers or even going and visiting family, but I always have, like, in the back of my mind, like, how do I present myself to them and how do I speak with them and how do I don't know, there's just a lot of, like, factors that weigh on me because I guess, just like have this impulse that I'm not allowed to make any kind of mistakes or present myself in any kind of way that isn't, like, true to myself, but also not so revealing about myself where it's uncomfortable to, like, communicate with someone. Like, I don't know if any of that makes sense, but it's like I struggle with over representing myself and also being so shut off that nobody knows who I really am. And I don't want that around loved ones. Like, that's where it's especially hard for me. It's like strangers, like, I can tell myself that how I'm presenting to them isn't a big deal because I'll never see them again, or I don't know there's no way I could possibly know what they think of me, so it's okay if I'm a certain kind of way. Or they're not tracking my life in the same way that someone I know closely might. I mean, not on, like, an very analytical level, but, like, they haven't seen my history. So it doesn't matter. There's not that bearing on that. But with loved ones, it's like, I don't want to present myself a certain way to where it, like, sticks in their mind that is who I am, and then they go about their life thinking that, and I'm a changing person, and I'm so afraid of that when I talk to people that I just don't want to reveal anything about myself. I don't want to dress in a way that is too unique or anything that might represent who I am. And I don't know why I struggle with that kind of authenticity around loved ones, especially. Now, I have always, saying all this, I've always really struggled with meeting new people until, like, the past 5 years or so, because what I tell myself before I go is that I need to treat them like a friend, that they are human like me, and I don't need to create some kind of idol of them about who they could be or might be when it's not them, because I don't want them doing that to me. So I'm really just, like, inform myself before I go and approach new people a lot of the times. And I know a lot of people probably don't think about it that hard, but for me it's like I need to be aware of that or else I'm scared shitless. So yeah, it's just kind of random thoughts about that. I just really struggle around being myself around loved ones when I want to be, and I want them to see me for who I am, and I want the same thing from them. Like, I want that kind of connection, but it's hard because I also don't want to overrepresent myself and make them think that I am some kind of way. So, like, I don't know how to strike that balance. It's so much harder. It's so easy for me to overthink and have some kind of OCD about being perfect each time, and I just don't know how to break that the same way I broke it with meeting new people. But yeah, it's a sure struggle with, like, over-representing myself. I think is the key part of that. And that's why I've really felt comfortable changing how I dress to be, like, pretty neutral. Like I am an artist and I very much like to be able to express myself, but I feel like clothing isn't necessarily what I chose to be loud, because I value my relationships more and I value not creating an impression on people. But it's like, why is that something that I have to control? Like, it's not. But I feel that need to, and I hate it. Because it's hard for me to bond with people when I want to. So, yeah, it's just thinking about, like, how I represent myself through, like, personal style and whatnot. I feel like I have, like, almost like a cloak on. Like, this is my neutrality cloak. Don't make assumptions about me. Get to know me first. Talk to me first. Then more will be revealed about me. And I feel comfortable like that. And that's why I choose to dress this way, instead of choosing to dress like how I used to, with like bold colors and very defined niche or style, like that you could pick apart or pick out and be like, okay, you're that kind of person. I don't want people making assumptions like that of me. I don't know. Just random thoughts. Okay, let me just be clear. I'm not afraid of being perceived. I'm afraid of being perceived wrongly in a way that misrepresents me. And I feel like that can happen when you overrepresent yourself through personal style and fashion, but I also feel like underrepresenting yourself also leads to assumptions and ideas about you that stick with people. So really, when I think about this is really freaking stupid that I feel like I need to control this, because there's just no way to. Like, people are going to make impressions about you whether you dress loudly or you dress neutrally. Like, it's going to happen no matter what. And either if you're really bold in the way you present yourself, even if it's not necessarily through like high fashion or whatever, but it's just like very clear what kind of person you are because you've picked a niche or whatever, it's like people will get that idea of you, and then you don't feel like that same way, like dressing loudly the next day, and people are like, well, you're the kind of person who dresses this way, and you're loud and you're exciting and you're fun and you're creative, and all those assumptions about someone. When someone goes and recedes and wears their clothes that feel like, I don't want to be seen, like I'm in a black turtleneck, don't look at me, like, you know, people, a lot of women have that outfit, you know, like their invisibility cloak, right? And like they put it on the next day, but they're aware that the person, like their loved one, for example, like they have seen their history of how they dress and how they act, and that assumption is made about them, and then they approach a room and they're not acting the same because they're quiet and they feel a little more introverted and they're more down to earth or whatever kind of characteristics you'd give them. They want to be perceived that way and they're dressed that way, but they're worried that they overrepresented themselves in the past, and then something doesn't line up the next time they present themselves to people. And it's almost like using personal style as like a costume, you know? Like it's either ever changing, or you dress the same, and then one day you don't, because you don't want that kind of attention to yourself in whatever way. And then it breaks that. You know, there's like a weird sense there that I get, I don't know, from myself, like if I'm in that position, and I don't really know what other people are thinking, but I feel like that level of perception is just kind of broken. So that's why I'm like, well, I'd rather just dress neutrally and have people only have the assumptions about me because of how I've spoken to them or how I've acted around them or the things I've done, versus how I dress. Like, I don't even want that to be a factor around loved ones, because I don't want them to have that idea created in their mind of me that stays. Like, that's my big struggle. It's like, I want to prevent that as much as possible, like, do damage control on that, and that's just so, like, I say all this out loud and I realize how stupid that sounds, but that is exactly how I feel. Yeah, and I don't know why. I think the only reason I don't really feel that so much with strangers and meeting new people is because I know that I am different every day. Like, how I want to present myself each day is going to be different, and they happen to just see a glimpse of me in that little timeline, and that's okay. That's just how it was. But I feel like I just have to, like, control the narrative of how I'm perceived among people, like, by how I dress. And it's such a factor that I consider with my personal style, and I feel like that prevents me. Like, it blocks a lot of growth I can have in the process of discovering who I am and what I like and how I act and how I feel in the clothes that I wear or the makeup that I put on. So, yeah. And I guess maybe I'm thinking about this now because, like, for years and years and years, I did my makeup a certain way. And all of a sudden, I changed up my makeup because that's how I felt inside. And people pointed it out, and I really didn't like that. I was like, okay, yeah, I was wearing that style of makeup before, but that isn't really, like, don't make assumptions about me right now that I've changed it, because I'm just in a process of experimenting and seeing, you know, what I'm about. And now you think that I'm this kind of girl for all that makeup that I wore before, and it's like, that's not even who I was. It's just, I don't know, fashion isn't about that necessarily for me. Fashion is about what I can pull off when I'm comfortable. Does that make sense? Like, it's a statement of how comfortable I feel each day dressing a certain way. And that's more of a sensory thing, I guess. Like the literal comfort of my clothes, but also the literal comfort level I have of expressing myself. Like, this is the sensory level I can handle today. And that's literally it with my clothing statements. It is not at all, like, the same as me going and sitting down and doing a drawing or painting or whatever. It's not. That stuff I feel inspired to do, and dressing is how I accommodate my needs. And that fact is why I don't want people thinking that how I dress is how I express myself and making assumptions about me because of that. Like, no, it's literally just because of how I feel. Like, yeah. I think it's starting to make sense now. So, but, like, there's been so many times where I compromised how I feel to present myself a certain way to someone, like in meeting someone or going to, like, a job interview, and I'm wearing some clothes that don't really feel like me, but it feels like it's appropriate for the position that I'm going into. Or that was just an example. But my journey with fashion has been really still trying to accommodate my comfort level physically and visually, like in a spiritual sense of expressing myself comfortably with clothes. And my journey with fashion has really been just bridging that gap. Like, for every situation, how can I be the most comfortable while still fitting in or still blending in or still, like, how can I meet all these needs or all these factors? How can I get it all to come together? That is what I consider every day with my clothing. And what I am growing towards is creating a wardrobe that is comfortable to me and makes me feel confident. And not confident in a girl power, like, you know, it's more confident in that I can go about this situation, not feeling embarrassed for how I'm dressed, not feeling non-functional, like being appropriate for this situation, being comfortable in my sensory needs, and like all those factors combined really is the sweet spot for me. But that's where the problem is I'm also trying to grapple with the idea that someone is creating a version of me in their mind because of how I'm dressing. So that's a fourth need for comfort that I just can't quite control. It's not something I can control. So if I can control the 3 factors of being appropriate, being comfortable physically, and, well, it mostly comes down to being appropriate. Like, this is the situation that this dress calls for, and these are the clothes that are comfortable with me. I met that. It's like synced. But then there's this other little demon on my shoulder telling me, no, they'll think this about you. It's like, no. I don't need that. I don't need that. And I don't know even where it's coming from. Like, nobody ever told me to be this way. And I think it's just because maybe I've had experiences where people were surprised about what I changed. I'm like, but I'm changing, and don't bring it up. Don't, like, okay, it's a good thing that I'm changing, but don't bring it up in a way it's like, I broke that paradigm that you had of me, and now you're upset and you're projecting that onto me, and I can feel it, you know? But maybe I can't. Maybe it's all fucking fake and perceived, and I'm just perceiving my own shit that isn't even true about someone else. It's just a cycle. I just want to shove that to the side and not think about that and go about my growth by bridging the gaps of comfort for clothing, and still feeling fucking fabulous in them while still appropriate and still comfortable. Like, I just want to meet all those needs and fuck that other shit. So that's my conclusion. This was a good rant, a good ramble. I'm glad I sat down and talked about this, even if no one else struggles with this. Okay. Bye.